We're gonna go over to the world of the Daily Wire people. So, for those unaware, Ben Shapiro's empire, his empire of traditional conservative values, it's fallen apart. It's crumbling, and I'm here for it, to be honest. The Daily Wire style of content, this hyper produced, buttoned up suit type of stuff, is just like not what the base wants anymore. And so that's like the primary thing, I think, is lots of people are moving on, and so they're not getting very many views anymore. It's leading to apparently like maybe layoffs and stuff. I don't know. We're going to find out from this video. This is from Megyn Kelly, by the way. Megyn Kelly is a conservative. She is I think she's one of these like starting to turn on Trump. Like she's like anti-Trump curious, like like she's like maybe she's waiting for the winds to really blow, I think, a little bit more in the direction before she abandons Trump. Like I would say like she's very similar to like Tucker Carlson, right, in terms of where they are in terms of the still being like aligned with MAGA and Trump. So let's go and watch this. This is a video from Megyn Kelly, what's really behind the massive layoffs at the Daily Wire, with Emily Jashinsky.
The notion of calling me an anti-Semite.
Oh, she's the Breaking Points person. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that she was going to be on here.
So absurd. The listening audience to the show knows what a lie that is. But like the outside people, they don't know. Not everybody listens to the show on a daily basis or enough to know. But you're seeing it now, right? You're seeing it like the people who have made that their calling card to just look at all conservatives with doubts about Israel and say, you're an anti-Semite. They're failing. Their shows are failing. And
that's a big part of it too. Ben Shapiro is like just very, very Zionist. Now, don't get that conflated. Like he hired Candace Owens. It's like he was fine with anti-Semitism, but when people started becoming anti-Israel, that's when he started, like he started going pretty nutty with his commentary. And as the GOP itself as well has become more anti-Israel, because like everybody's becoming more anti-Israel, and in general, it's hard to it's a very like propped up thing, right? It's very like it's the polling and like the ability for Israel to do what it does is very propped up by billions upon billions of dollars. Once the facade cracks, it's relatively quick for the collapse in its views and stuff. And so Ben Shapiro, as an avid Zionist, was very he's having a really hard time navigating this particular moment in the conservative like media ecosystem. That's only one of the problems though at the Daily Wire. Like what I said at the beginning was also a major problem, is that it's hyper produced. They spend ungodly amounts of money on stupid things. Like there's lots of problems here, but that's another one that's hitting them.
I do think it's in part why we saw what I consider to be very sad news about the Daily Wire on Friday, where they had mass layoffs. And this is a company that for most of its existence has been near and dear to my heart. And I still have a lot of friends over there and I am rooting for them. And even though I've had this massive blow up with Ben Shapiro,
I'm not, just so you're aware.
He initiated. I have never been anything but good to Ben. And we were dealing with each other behind the scenes in a very lovely manner before he attacked me publicly at the Turning Point thing in December. I'm rooting for Ben too. I don't want to see Ben suffer. I don't want to see his company implode. But it's
I think she's also an Israel skeptic. I don't know that much about Megyn Kelly though, to be honest. So take everything I'm saying about her with a grain of salt.
It seems to be. There are reports of 50 to 60% of the staff having been laid off. They officially denied it. But I think the problem with the Daily Wire is multifaceted. They invested tens of millions of dollars in this dragon movie, which they they kept behind a paywall.
Dragon cycle or whatever. The only thing I know about that is Chapo Trap House had a like review of it that was really funny. Was that the one that starred that one, the Ben Shapiro lookalike, the femme Ben Shapiro, Shapiro, whatever her name is. What is her name? I can't remember, but yeah, that one was a wild saga. That was one of those ones that I'm like, I didn't understand, because they usually when they're doing their movie stuff, it's like very obviously like anti-woke movies, right? Like it's like the basketball one, whatever, I forgot what that one was called, where they like the anti-trans basketball one. Like it's usually stuff like that is like what they're spending their money on. The Pendragon cycle was like supposed to be like just a normal like epic, like a fantasy epic or something. I don't understand how you're injecting your politics into it. I don't understand why you're wanting to make this. I mean, actually I do kind of understand. It's because he's in his heart, he is like he wants to be a Hollywood writer. That was what he originally wanted to be before he wasn't talented enough to do it, and did the inevitable pivot that everybody who is untalented does, to doing conservative like grifting. It's the easiest move to make when you're untalented. So like that's like, I think probably the reason that they do stuff like that. But yeah, they spend an ungodly amount of money on that shit.
It had no chance of paying off for them. It was just
I'll be right back.
Absolutely foolhardy. They expanded into, they sort of like, you know, they had mission creep, Emily, you know, like now they're selling razors and they're selling chocolate and they're selling, I don't know, all sorts of different products as opposed to just like doing the news, you know, and they started to do all this like children's programming and movie making. And it's like, I think if they just stuck to their core mission of doing the news in a more fair and balanced way and hadn't gotten hung up on all these other projects, and yes, indeed, the Israel first nature of Ben's coverage in particular, I think they'd be fine. I think, you know, in the off election years, it's always a little slower for, you know, any podcast. So I'm sure that's a factor, but I think they would have withstood that no problem had these other factors not been there. I just think in general, the right doesn't take well to name calling, culling.
Okay, sorry. There was something I heard there that I wanted to talk about. But the children's show stuff was also very stupid, right? Because the children's show is like they wanted to make essentially like PragerU sort of style children's programming that was designed to do what they think liberals do, right? What they think liberals do is they think that liberals just in like liberal Hollywood elites are creating these shows in order to indoctrinate these kids into becoming like Marxist Leninists or something, right? Which is stupid. It's not what they're doing. If anything, they're indoctrinating them into being liberals. Like I was a kid once, okay? And I turned out to be a liberal until I was like, you know, deprogrammed, you know, around the 2016-2017 era when I became radicalized. But they made these shows like that were expressly designed to try to like preach conservative values to kids. The problem though is obviously, number one, most people don't really want that, like just on average, right? Just the average, like you're not going to win over anybody except like diehard conservatives to even try this out. But number two, kids don't want to be watching shows that their friends aren't watching. Like it's very important to kids in their social lives, like to like be like, oh, I heard about this show. Like I heard about you know, Frozen, right? Like, oh, have you seen Frozen? Like they'll do that when they're at school, right? And then if you're the one kid who's like, have you guys heard about the what, like the mouse who hates communists, like, you know, like, or like whatever shitty ass shows they have or whatever, like like Fievel Goes Racist or you know? If you ever like that's like everybody's gonna think the kid's weird and they're gonna be like, Mom, can we not always watch like Ben Shapiro's programming and please let me just watch normal stuff so I can like talk to my friends about it? Like that's another thing that I thought was funny. But yeah, sorry, I heard that while I was in the bathroom, so I had to run back and talk about it with you guys.
Of the movement, anyone declaring themselves like the godfather of it, who will decide who gets to stay and who gets to go. According to Ben Shapiro, Steve Bannon had to go as of December. So did Tucker. I got lumped in there as an alleged coward in the world of Ben Shapiro for not being outspoken on his favorite issues. Barry Weiss doubled down with her Free Press. None of these people is doing well. The Free Press, not doing well. CBS is having the lowest ratings it's had in between 25 and 100 years. I don't even know if it hasn't been around for 100 years, like in a century, though, basically, since its formation under her leadership. And she's pushing all these messages on her evening newscast and her morning newscast. The people are rejecting it. they're rejecting it, Emily.
Well, they're going to reject it until every single company is owned by Miriam Adelson or whatever the person's name is. I think it's Adelson, right? Who owns CBS? Or Ellison? Is it David Ellison? Is that right? Yeah, it's Ellison. Sorry, I get names confused all the time. So Ellison, the Ellisons, until once they own every single media group, and then you won't be able to escape shitty Zionist talking points in every single show you watch. So then at that point, everybody just has to settle with shitty programming.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, at the Daily Wire, one way that you can tell, I think people are rejecting it, is that, to their credit, they've allowed Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh to kind of openly dissent from some of Ben's arguments, and sometimes they do it on their live streams, which I think, again, that is a good thing, and it tells me that they know, even among their own audience, that it's sort of controversial to be totally embracing every single element of Ben's arguments. I think they also, I mean, it's an interesting new media lesson. We don't totally have the full story publicly yet, but the growth was too fast, and you have to have diversified, I think, revenue streams. Whereas if a big chunk of your revenue is based around Ben, and you want to build a big media company that does movies and TV shows and documentaries, and also has a news website, and remember they had a publishing imprint.
Well, it's also it's an incredibly astroturf thing, right? It's very propped up by billionaires. So I don't understand where they thought their possibility for growth was, to be honest. And the other thing, obviously, is that people don't like that buttoned up look for conservatism anymore. But that was back whenever they had to present themselves as normal. Whenever conservatives were trying to present their ideology as just normal or common sense or whatever, right? Nowadays, they don't even bother with that anymore. They don't present themselves as normal, and they don't want people who look normal to be presenting them stuff. That's why, that's why it's moving on to just more unhinged individual commentators, like Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson or or just Asmongold and shit, right? That is a much more that aligns much more with the average conservator, what they see of themselves, right? And in terms of I don't know. It's just it's much more aligned with their vision of conservatism, as opposed to this buttoned up, prim and proper show that Ben Shapiro, high production show that Ben Shapiro made.
For a while, they were doing books and children's programming, and you're reliant on probably streams of investor money, but your big
streams
pull is still Ben. At one point, it was Candace. That's a really rickety foundation for a media company in the long term, and so I think they ran into some trouble with that, where it was just, to your point, mission creep way too fast as well. Creep is probably not the right word, but mission sprinting in different directions, and it was not a good foundation for success.
Yeah, I mean, just he's doubled down on it many times. Just when President Trump decided to attack Tucker and yours truly and some others who have been skeptics of the Iran war repeatedly in some tweets a couple weeks ago, Ben retweeted his Turning Point speech, calling for us to be excommunicated from the conservative movement, saying, now seems like a good time to re-up this. Okay.
They're getting Hassan Pikered, everybody. They're getting conservative Hassan Pikered.
All right. I see you haven't moved at all off of your position.
It's curious how whether you're conservative or liberal, the one thing you are required to be is pro-Israel in both cases.
And that you get to dictate who's part of the conservative movement, who isn't. Meanwhile, I'd been at Fox News for 16 years before anybody even knew his name. Some of us have been in this media space for a very long time, fighting very important fights for decades. That includes Tucker Carlson for sure, and it also includes yours truly, and others. And he decided to double down on it. So it's okay, when your business is hemorrhaging, maybe cast a wide net. maybe launch your criticisms on an individualized basis, take on Tucker's arguments, take on mine, whatever. You think I'm not saying enough about X? Okay, you can spend your show talking about that if you want. I'm sure your audience doesn't really want to spend its day hearing about that, but okay, you could do that. As opposed to, I shall decree who is in and who is out. I appoint myself master.
Do you guys remember when he went up on and did a speech on stage about like excommunicating these people? What was it, at CPAC or something? I think it's pretty obvious now which side of the, like, where the wind is blowing, right? Like with how they're like, his company is failing right now, and people like Tucker and Candace Owens are ascendant. I think it's pretty obvious which way the wind is blowing, even for conservatives on being like anti-Israel. Now, a lot of these people, take their anti-Israel opinions with a grain of salt. A lot of them are just grifters. They're just like straight up like, we see where they were able to see where the wind was blowing in a way that like other people either couldn't or were not willing to make the appropriate changes, even if they could see where the wind is blowing. So you don't have to give them too much credit, but they were at least able to see that.
Master of the conservative movement. That doesn't work. Liberals may like that shit, but conservatives don't. Maybe the neocon Israel First crowd likes it, but nobody else does, Emily.
Well, and listen, like,
do liberals like that? I don't know. The average liberal like person, probably not so much. Liberal pundits do. Like, they do that shit all the time. They always try to gatekeep their like the boundaries of discussion. But at least like modern, like since as people have become more and more radicalized, as you're seeing like like granola moms going out and like raising like abolish ICE signs on May Day or something, like ever since we've gotten to this new era, I think a lot of people are like over the whole gate, like boundary keeping of like normal, like what's allowable in polite society, to an extent, at least.
Like, we've been inside these conservative movement spaces. Like, one of the big messages that I have to people inside the conservative movement, also like Republican and Democratic Party, like, look at what just happened in Maine, where Janet Mills, the sitting governor, had to drop out of the race because Graham Plattner was so powerful. Janet Mills had all the money. They thought it was ridiculous that Plattner would ever win, and she didn't even make it to the primary. A lot of that is because institutions are less powerful than personalities now. So you can't say that, oh, we have to defer to the power of this institution. Like, remember when National Review did this to the Birchers? That doesn't work on younger people. It doesn't work on Americans anymore. It may have been true. It was true in the 70s and the 80s with William F. Buckley, but it's just not the same anymore. The institutional power is different. And so you have to make arguments. You have to appeal to individuals, and you have to have those arguments with individuals, not with institutions.
Okay. Well, I got to talk about the Daily Wire falling apart, which was really all I wanted to talk about. Give some of my technically clay opinions on the matter. So there you go. Now you have it, people.